One to our Keeping Pace podcast, and thank you so much, Sonny Schwartz, for attending and being so kind to join us. And you have an unbelievable tenure at Five Keys, being one of, I believe, two founding members. Can you elaborate on what started all this for you?
Well, David, people say you're the founder. I am, and I don't mean to sound cliche. It really is a we thing. You can have good ideas, but if you don't have the people with fire in their belly around you and together, it's just a good idea. So what the genesis of it was, I've worked in criminal justice since 1980 as a law student, as a lawyer. I went out and practiced law, and the sheriff said, he had a really forward-thinking sheriff by the name of Michael Hennessy, who really believed in people's ability to change and felt it was his moral obligation to release people in his custody more prepared to be pro-social citizens and functional citizens. So he asked me if I would come back and start a whole program unit within the sheriff's department, which seems to some people paradoxical.
Sure.
You know, jails and prisons generally do not lend itself to investing in people's success. On the contrary, there's I think a plausible argument that is invested in people's failure because people are not provided the skills and the services to help them negotiate in the free world. So, in essence, I came back and we interviewed 360 people who were incarcerated. I knew intuitively as a law student, I put myself through law school, so I worked for 4+ years already in the jails as a law intern, and I knew what the struggles, I heard what the struggles were of the men and women in our custody. Education, addiction, violence, employment, housing. So we started to create robust programs in the county jail. We created quasi-therapeutic community, because it was still a jail. We started with a gender-specific program called the Sister Project. Then we started one for men, and then we started a violence prevention program. It was the first restorative justice program in a county jail called Resolve and Stop the Violence Project, and that was circa 1997. We had education agencies in our jail. We had community college coming in, we had city college coming in, and we had this adult ed program outside of our county came in and provided about 12 plus programs in the education context. They gave us a year notice. This was post 9/11. And they said, we have to go back to our own county. Education budgets were bleeding. And they gave us a year to find another, what's called an LEA, a local education agency, to come in instead, because they were going to transfer the funds from the State Department of California to that next LEA.
Mm-hmm.
David, we could not find a school that was willing to come in. We couldn't give it, at that time, it was about $750,000 of State Department of Education funds. We knocked on so many doors. Our own backyard, a unified school district, we weren't asking for money. As a sheriff's department, we could not take those funds. We were capable of running our own school because we had very talented, passionate people who were willing to become teachers. But we couldn't, we were a law enforcement agency, and the State Department of Education only goes to education agencies. Nobody was willing. We couldn't give $750,000 away. So I went into the sheriff's office and basically said, no one gives a beep about our people like we do. Let's become our own school. And he said, how are we going to do that? I said, I have no idea. I'm not an educator, so I don't have that background. He said, wait a minute. My daughter has a friend that goes to a charter school. And I said, what the heck's a charter school? I didn't even know what that was. He said, go ahead, Schwartz, figure it out. So my first call was to the Charter School Association in Sacramento. And they were pretty floored because I was like, this is Sonny Schwartz from the Sheriff's Office. We want to become our own charter high school for incarcerated adults. And they said, what? That's not been done before.
Yeah.
And I said, let's be the first. So that's the genesis, that's the birth. So I was talking to folks out there at lunch break that, how did you do it? It's like, I didn't have that know-how. I had the idea. You know, we wanted to replace, and I shared the previous programs we created because that was the foundation of Five Keys. We wanted to change the climate, the fabric, the operations of jail from men and women just sitting around, sleeping all day, playing dominoes and cards, watching terrible TV, never taking the time to think about how can I get better, who did I hurt, and how to give back. So we started to change the operations prior to Five Keys to have it be engines of not only hope but service. And so when the Five Keys idea came out, the charter high school, we had that foundation, and even though we didn't know what the heck to do to create a program, you get people who do know.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the good fortune to be able to hire consultants in the charter school world, and a year later, we became our own charter high school. Five Keys at that time had one. We were in one jail, 250 students.
Oh my goodness.
That's it. And
Wow.
today we have close to 4,000.
Right.
So enter Steve Good, who we hired. I mean, honestly, we didn't know what we were doing, and we fell on our face a few times because we had good intention, the passion was there, but you need people who know what they're doing.
Right.
And hire Steve Good and all his leaders and everyone else, and then it expanded. Five Keys is, it stands for education, housing, employment, recovery, community. Well, we had the one key, education, and now we have and still nurturing those other keys.
Fantastic. Fast forward now,
Yeah.
2 years later, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What am I doing? This OG still has fire in her belly. I still have fire in my belly. I am on the board still. I am a consultant for Five Keys. I help with a variety of things, from fundraising to legislative obstacles that come our way. We created a housing program on Treasure Island in San Francisco for formerly incarcerated survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking, which is something that we are so proud of. Women, painfully, are, most of my career, not exclusively working with men. And I was unintentionally neglectful, not looking at, the women's population is so small compared to, but nonetheless,
Right.
women are easily forgotten. Sexism is alive and well, even in our own communities, unintentionally maybe, So that was the last program that I really dug in on too, and it's thriving. It needs a lot more funding. It's underfunded. So I do consulting with some personnel and some labor issues, legislative issues, fundraising, programmatic initiatives, site visits, things like that.
Terrific. How is Five Keys working with Cap Alliance?
Oh, well, it's a we thing, like I said in the beginning of this discussion, is that nobody can do it alone. We need each other as partners. And sometimes in this field, because there's crumbs of funding, people kind of scatter and they get into their own territory. And Dave Bates was instrumental he started it. Dave is a leader in Five Keys, and so we are invested in nurturing whatever we can do to nurture that alliance.
Terrific. What would you say are the biggest challenges in the environment we find ourselves in?
Cynicism. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. People can, especially this environment in our country where we are so divided. We've always been we've always had, even in my career, early in my career, there's always been the us them. You know, I was accused of being the coddler. I coddled prisoners. I coddled incarcerated people. No, 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 no. Coddling is letting people sleep all day and play dominoes and cards. That's what's coddling.
Right.
What's not coddling is holding that mirror up and having programs that respond, not to shame people, but to bring it, to integrate and understand the impact of one's behavior and provide services to heal the harm caused by that crime or behavior. And it was an obstacle then, because there was such, the deputy sheriffs were called, the program people, the tree-hugging liberals. And the tree-hugging liberals would call the deputy sheriffs heartless goon squad. And we were pigeonholing each other. We were all responsible for that. That was back then, and it still happens. Now with the country and the leadership of this country right now, that division is that much more, and people can get cynical real easy. I'm sitting in this CAP Alliance conference, and I'm looking around, and I'm hearing people, and I was flooded with hope. Because it's real easy to be cynical. I think that's the biggest occupational hazard. Of course, funding, concretely. Funding is always an issue. More so than ever, because the federal funds are cutting people off at their knees. Along with that, of course, is the cynicism. We can really get psyched out by all the haters. And being in that CAP Alliance conference, I was just saying to Dave, I said, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm looking around, people still, the humanity in that room is so gorgeous and so hopeful.
Yeah, that's wonderful. The last question, what is in store for you in your next chapter?
Someone just asked me what's on my bucket list. To go visit every Major League Baseball field.
Okay, are you serious?
I am serious.
Okay.
But besides that, from a professional point...
Yeah, that's what I...
Yeah, of course. I had to put that in, though. From a professional point, I really want to help support what we have right now and make sure we don't forget the fundamentals. And the fundamentals, to me, is making sure our staff is healthy, that they're trained, they have ongoing training that's responsive to their professional dealings, as well as our students, our clients. And to integrate more and more what we're doing with the private sector as well. I think is really, really important. That it's not just the public sector. We cannot survive without all hands on deck.
Got it. Well, I actually have something else. You either have a Chicago or a Michigan.
Very good. Everyone thinks New York, and I'm like,
no,
don't insult me.
They don't know. Which one is it?
Chicago.
Yeah, whereabouts?
South Side.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
mostly
terrific.
South Side.
Okay.
And very good, because everyone said, "Oh, Brooklyn." Oh.
Oh
Brooklyn.
No.
Why, are you Chicago?
Well, no. Well, I lived in Elmhurst for a year as a kid.
Okay.
But no.
Yeah, but my accent gave it away, huh?
It sure did.
The other night, I was saying some word, and they were like, "What? What?" And she thought I had a speech impediment. No, that's Chicago or Chicago.
Well, Sonny, thank you for stopping by. I know that you're going to be taking off soon. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, very nice meeting you.
My pleasure, David.